Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sue, you mentioned, and congratulations on the film, and I've really enjoyed seeing it for a second time now. And you mentioned it had, just like the whole project itself, it had a long gestation. So can you talk us through the origin story for this, please?
Yes, back in January 2009, I met at a conference one of the astrophysicists from Leicester University, the Space Research Centre there. And I'd never met an astrophysicist before, actually, so I was really bowled over and said, oh, wow, there's space and everything. It was so exciting. And he said, yes, we're working with the Indians on the launch of their first ever astronomical satellite. So as a filmmaker, you're always interested in firsts as well, sort of going somewhere that no one's been before and trying to tell a story that no one's told before. So I said, that sounds really interesting. And he also explained that the astrophysicists, they have to sometimes wade through waist-high water when it's monsoon time to reach their space research centre. And I imagine this sort of glittering multi-million-pound space research centre and having to go through waist-high water. And I just thought, wow, what an image. And I just thought I'd really like to make a film there. So I said, could you get me access? Could I meet them? And he said, yes, we'll try. So it started then. And I met KP when he came over to Leicester. I think that was a while after. And then I tried to raise some funding to get over there to make a trailer.
Oh yes, because lots of us hear stories about interesting things on the other side of the world, but less of us go and actually spend years making a film about it. So how many times did you go to shoot there, and at what point did you meet Vinita and start working together?
Well, Vinita arrived in 2013, and that was wonderful when she arrived because. The three professors were very interesting, but I was looking for someone also kind of young as well and dynamic, and Vinita was all of those things, is all of those things. So yes, it was a very just long period, partly because when I first went in 2010, when I got development funding, they were going to launch in 2011, but that didn't happen. So they kept going and I kept going. And in fact, Raghu Rao's wife, Manjula, said once to him, how can Sue keep making this film? How can she keep going? And he just looked at her and he said, oh yeah, I understand, like you do with Astrosat. So we were both on this very long journey, rather similarly.
And Vinita, so what was it like for you having sort of the pressure of the whole scientific project and a filmmaker following you?
Yeah, at first, definitely facing a camera and talking about my work was really difficult, but Sue made it really comfortable for me. There was tremendous pressure at that time because there were, as it goes in science, you cannot really get things done in the first go. So there were some problems coming up, and it was my PhD project, my first research project ever. So, even I was equally tensed about it, that how things go.
Well, and can you update us on what's happening since? And are you living in London, which brings you here? Or how are you in London? Have you traveled for this premiere?
I traveled for this premiere and at the same time visiting my friend as well.
So tell us, so what are you doing now?
Now I've just completed my PhD 2 years ago, and now I'm majorly into teaching, though I'm continuing with my research, but not really much associated with the data of Astrosat. But I'm continuing my research in high energy physics and more into teaching realm.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to open it up in just a second because I think we have a very interested crowd here and there will be a lot of questions. But Sue, can I just ask you about the whole? It's quite a moving strand with the children of the slum next door, divided by a wall when it's really literally a few meters away. Talk us about that storyline and how you came to that, please.
Yes, how did I come to that? Well, Raghu suddenly started teaching them and said, would you like me to film me teaching them, which was also a really good addition to the story. And I think that was about 2013. And then I knew, it was quite hard filming there because actually it's the headquarters of the Indian Navy. And that's why they've got the wall, because they're very, obviously, quite rightly, security conscious. But yes, we started following Raghu as he went in and taught every Saturday the children. yeah, and it just felt. And then he was teaching them science, and he spoke about their mission, and I mean, the reason I wanted to have that there is because in the West we never really speak about the Indian space program without also saying how can they have one with levels of poverty that they have. So I sort of discovered a different story. I discovered that actually it's a huge inspiration for these children, and that story hadn't been told. So, you know, that's why it's there as well. And I didn't want to make a science film. And it's also very hard to make a science film, actually, because as anyone who's tried to knows, if you ask a scientist about science, I mean, KP kept talking about sources, and I kept saying, can you say stars? Because I discovered the sources were stars. I don't really understand sources. But it's very complicated, very technical, and I didn't want to make a science film. I was more interested about the people and their passion for what they do, and that juxtaposition, really. I mean, obviously, it's a big employer, TIFR, for people that live at Geeta Nagar. And they want to be there because it's, as I say, a big source of employment.
What are the plans for the film now?
Well, it's screening at a film festival next weekend in Florence, and TVF are distributing it. So it's going, I mean, Nat Geo are going to be broadcasting it on NHK in Japan, and hopefully it'll go on television here too. There's a 52 version,
Right.
1 hour version.
Yeah. Right. Questions, please. Yes, right down in the front is our first.
Thank you very much for wonderful.
You got it. Sorry, there's a roving mic that just rove to you now.
Thank you very much for a wonderful film, and congratulations to you, and congratulations
Thank
to you on your PhD. I see you have got married too, probably. I don't know.
No, I'm not.
Whatever, I have just briefly put 2 questions. The first is, I was watching that wonderful Mangalyaan shot to the Mars, and I was watching it right down to the end, and you know, it went so well, and just at the very bottom I saw it curving, and I knew there was something wrong. But the point is, the question is, we know that it actually landed. It may have jarred itself on the surface, but I wondered later on even whether you got any signals. I had the feeling that there was something coming out of it somehow, but we didn't hear anything about it afterwards. That is the first question. And the second question, more pertaining to this film, is that once you have this satellite now examining the black holes, have you actually got any interesting data coming through from any of the big black holes it might be looking at?
Yeah, so regarding your first question, Chandrayaan 2 did ultimately land, maybe not a soft landing. Well, since I'm not really into that project, so I don't have much details about it. But as far as I know, we haven't received any signal from the lander at all. But we were able to locate the position with the orbiter. So that concrete position, I guess, we have been able to recover. But I don't think we have got any communication with the lander at all.
And the second was also for you, I think, Vinita.
Okay. So yes, as I said, I'm not currently working with the data of Astrosat. I was more into the instrumentation part, actually. But as far as I know, there are quite a few interesting data that has come up. Even in the first month itself, after the launch, I think GRBs were also detected using the CZT detectors. There were many other binaries, X-ray binary stars that have been studied. Black holes, I'm not really into it, so I can't really comment on it. I don't know exactly what data related to black holes has come up. But yes, it's been 4 years now, and people are analyzing the data. We have got quite a lot of data, and in fact, we need more people to analyze it.
Great. Other questions, please? Yes, just in the second row here, please.
I had a question for Sue.
Yeah.
So I was really curious about the showing of, because as much as Professor Rao goes to Geeta Nagar every weekly once to teach the kids, so my question is was it something beyond just his routine. Beyond that, you wanted to show something more. Because for me, the title of the film, Indian Space Dreams, it's not just about dreams of the three professors or Vinita's dream to study something like this, or dream of the whole team who launched the satellite. It is a whole dichotomy of what those kids from Geeta Nagar as well dream. So part of it, it's like more like a critical view of it, because having worked in some slums in Mumbai and having gone to Geeta Nagar as well, like what happens after this now? The satellite is launched. Now, like everyone is again in their respective domains. So what about those kids? Was it more like, okay, they are shot in the film, like did they see the film? Is there some way there is a continuity for the kids who are actually interested in studying space? Or it was more like, okay, it happened and okay, now what? Like,
No.
yeah.
Well, I hope, I mean, they haven't seen, this is the first screening, public screening is today, but I'm going in February to Mumbai and I'm going to show it to all of them then. And I would like to set something up. I mean, that's the next step really, to see if, I mean, Sanjana said she wants to be a scientist, but she's also said she wants to be a doctor and an air hostess, so I don't know whether she still wants to be a scientist, but it would be nice to set something up. I mean, it still is happening. There are PhD students going there often as well, not Raghu anymore, because he's retired, but so it would be nice to have something continuing. So I will, when I go there, I will be, I mean, they're so close, I will ask people there if they can do that. But I mean, I think what I was trying to do is show that, I mean, just the whole space, you know, all the advances that India has made in space is not lost on them. They know about it from watching television, and that's really inspiring them to do something, you know, with their lives. And yeah, it's complicated. Well, it's not that complicated, but in some ways it's complicated. I mean, it's complicated because actually for a long while they've been trying to move them from Geeta Nagar. There's a lot of slum clearance going on, isn't there, in Mumbai, and putting them outside on the periphery of Mumbai in high-rises, which a lot of people are not happy with, quite understandably, because they're much nearer to employment where they are. But because they're trying to clear the slum, they're not giving them the basic amenities they need. So it's a sort of not catch-22, but they don't want to go because they want to be physically there. So it's kind of, you know, but yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Other questions? Yes.
Hi, this is for Vinita. Firstly, again, congratulations on your PhD. I know
Thank you.
from experience how a lifestyle change it is. I just wanted to ask really about your experiences in academia, whether you could draw on maybe just in a nutshell about being maybe quite the representation there in terms of being like a woman in astrophysics and kind of space. It's quite a male-dominated field. I wondered whether you could just maybe talk about your experiences and how you found it.
Yes, so as far as TIFR is concerned, of course, it's a beautiful place to work. So there at least, I mean, all these things don't really matter much. But yes, outside socially, many things really creep in sometimes. So first of all, when I really expressed this interest that, you know, I want to go for physics and astrophysics, of course, my parents were very supportive about it. But this field was new. I mean, not many girls, at least 15 years ago, not many girls actually went for it. Not from Mumbai at least. There are a lot of women from Bangalore area and south of India actually participating in this, but not from Mumbai or northern parts, anywhere else. Yeah, but then, as I said, my parents were really supportive, so wasn't really that difficult for me. And being in a metro city, things were a little simpler for me to get into proper educational system and get into TIFR actually. But yeah, sometimes, yes, it does matter because it's not only about the research work that we do, but also I've been into astronomy popularization and outreach. And we have to actually travel to different villages and, you know, all those places. So that's where all these things really matter sometimes. And it's nice. I feel nice that at least I'm able to motivate other girls, young girls in colleges and talk to them and really encourage them to take up science, take up physics and really, you know, choose the career they really want to take. So it's nice, actually. The challenges do come at times.
Yes, the second row here, and then we'll go, or either way, then we'll go the third row after that.
Thank you. This question, I guess, could be for either of you, just what you've heard. I'm just curious now with Astrosat underway, what are kind of some of the next projects that are being considered or underway for Indian space endeavors?
In fact, there are a lot many. So after Astrosat, people were more into Chandrayaan 2, and that took quite some time. Apart from that, we are also into sending a solar observatory. It's underway. It's the work is still going on. Maybe a couple of years more or something. I'm not really participating into it, so I really cannot tell you about the timeline. But there are many projects coming up. There are other plans for other telescopes similar to Astrosat. There are plans for sending astronauts out. So all these things are currently going on, actually. There is ISRO chairman has also announced about Gaganyaan, which might just that's going to be our next space shuttle, in fact. So that might just take another 5 to 10 years to go into it. So many projects coming up, actually, currently. So many opportunities for Indian students actually working in this field.
Another question for Vinita. You said that your parents were very supportive of your career in astrophysics, but did they also continue to try and pressurize you to get married?
That's a social aspect in India, actually. That, it's not exactly a pressure, but there is a social pressure on them. So that ultimately comes to me because the relatives keeps asking. So, it goes on because there's always a certain age limit where people think that you should get married. So that keeps continuing. But then again, you have to balance between what's your passion and what's so that's, as I said in the film as well. So astronomy has always been my passion, actually, and would like to continue. At the same time, yes, I'm not really against the social pressures or the cultural aspects in India, but yes, sometimes it just adds up when you're under pressure over your work and then suddenly you have some other social pressures building up. So.
It's a marvellous film. Loved it. Full of all sorts of different aspects. But I'm interested in how you dealt with the hordes of people who must have followed you as you were filming, particularly in India, particularly in the slums. We didn't see any of them, obviously, but it's quite an issue. How did you do
Yes, I suppose the more you film, people do get used to you, or maybe... I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't know. We had quite a small camera at one point as well. We had lots of different cameras for lots of reasons. Yes, I think they got at Geeta Nagar. They got used to us being there, really.
How big a crew did you have?
Oh, minimal. Just me and someone shooting.
Right.
Yeah. Except for the launch, there was someone on sound then.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, can you expand a little bit on generally the challenges that you faced? Had you filmed in India before?
I had, yes. I'd filmed in Andhra Pradesh, which I'd filmed myself. That was another film, different small film, a short film. The challenge is, I think it's always a challenge to make a film far away, and so much easier to make a film. And also, I have a job in England, so I couldn't really just go over there. I work at a university here, so I couldn't really just go over there and be there. But I was thinking about that, because often when I'd go and turn up at TIFR, they'd greet me very friendly for the first week, and then afterwards, when you're making a film, they sort of think, haven't you finished by now? So because it always takes so long. So actually, the second week was I always felt that, especially KP was quite pleased when I'd gone after the second week. So I don't think it would have been, it would have been a different film if I had been able to be there, like a lot of filmmakers are, for say 3 months and 4 months and just film and sort of embed myself there. But I'm not sure that, KP would have liked it particularly, I don't know. But no, it worked okay. And then Mukul was on the ground there, and so he filmed it when KP's telescope actually left, because I'd gone over there to film that, and everything just kept getting delayed. And I mean, NASA projects get delayed too. It's just a thing of space, really, of this sort of work. Things get delayed. And so I had to get back on the plane, and then Mukul turned up to film the telescope going, and then it was raining, so it didn't go. But obviously that provided a whole sequence because it couldn't go. It was delayed again. But luckily Mukul was just up the road. So, yeah.
Yes, right in the back, please.
I was wondering how easy it was to convince the staff and all the people you filmed at Tata to get on side. Like, were they quite open to being filmed, or did you have to kind of convince them what kind of picture you were trying to show of their project? And also, while you were doing that, bearing in mind that they don't have the budget of other like NASA or other space operations in other countries, was there anything that they were perhaps a bit self-conscious about showing, or things that they perhaps can you not show this? Yeah.
There was a moment when KP said, "Don't show this." When Mukul was filming, we didn't show it. I can't remember what it was now. Something on the floor. I can't remember now, but we didn't put that in. Well, I don't know. I think the scientists in Leicester, I think, convinced KP that it was a good thing to do. I don't know. I mean, I met KP in Leicester, and he said, "Yes, come over." I mean, when you make a film, to some extent, it's always a bit of a sort of journey. You're not quite sure what the film is you're making. So, as I say, I got money to go over there and met them and started filming. They weren't used to being, like a lot of people, they weren't used to being filmed. So, and not used to just being followed while they're doing things. So it's more sort of, sit down formal interviews. And I wanted to sort of say, "Can you move around?" And I'll just keep filming you. And that's something that, we had, that was difficult, actually.
Did you find that strange, being asked to do that?
Sometimes, but as I said, like initially I was not very much comfortable in front of the camera. I was not used to it. But later, I mean, I just got used to her actually, and she made it very comfortable for me actually to, and I think after some point of time, I stopped realizing that there is a camera shooting me, so it didn't make much.
But how suggestive was it? Would Sue have been saying, "Can you go with your friend and sit on a bench and talk about dating.com?"
Yeah. So that kind of a conversation we generally have with our friends. So it was not much different, but again, as I said, like it's different when you know the camera is following you. Otherwise, it's fine. It's just fine to talk with a friend.
Right, interesting. Any last questions? I'm getting some nods. That time is close, but it's been a real pleasure to watch it. And Vinita, thank you for coming, because it's been a pleasure to meet you. And we've seen you in lots of different outfits on the screen, but nothing quite so lovely as your debut outfit. So congratulations on the world premiere, and to both of you. And I wish you best of luck for the film. Thank you to everyone.